Mhm. There we go. Wonderful. Hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday. I think it really feels like Tuesday. So I don't know, it's just like a strange day. But thank you for joining us tonight. We are super excited. We have a special guest with us this evening. Kersten is going to join us, and we're going to have a conversation about a topic that I know is super important to a lot of you in the group. So thank you for joining us tonight, Kersten. I can't wait to dive into our fascinating topic of the best way to lose fat versus, cardio versus weight resistance.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Excited to be here.
Absolutely. Thank you. So, Kirsten, tell us a little bit about how you found yourself in the space of fitness and nutrition coaching.
Okay. Well, I've been interested in fitness and nutrition for as long as I remember, pretty much. And I grew up pretty athletic and did all the, track and field, basketball, all that stuff. So I have always been interested in it, but that doesn't mean that I haven't had like weight struggles. I definitely have had them.
Mhm.
And one of the really big weight struggle point for me was when I was 21 and I got my first car and started eating more and worked at a restaurant, gained a bunch of weight. And this was kind of the first time where the athletic me that I had always known myself as was kind of not the same anymore. And I gained in a relatively short time, maybe 5 months or so, I gained about 30 pounds. And and then this is when I got serious about it. I was like, I have to get this thing off. I have to start Weight Watchers, and I started running a ton. So I use cardio as the way to lose weight, and I did it, and I lost a lot of weight. But looking back, I know that it actually wasn't very good for me because I ran into a lot of hormonal issues. I completely overtrained myself, didn't do any resistance training to support it. And I ended up needing more and more and more cardio to maintain that body weight that I had gotten to. So this was like one of the really big points in my life where I lost a lot of weight. And then afterwards, over the years, I did a lot of different things, but there was another point where I gained weight, and that was actually to recover from all these hormonal issues that I had gotten myself into. And this time, I had to put on a lot of weight, but at the same time, of course, I felt uncomfortable. And once I healed my health, I knew I want to get in shape, but I'm not going to do this with this excessive cardio and severe calorie restriction anymore. And this is how I found strength training. So this is like a really short story.
Right. So it sounds like though it's a story, like a situation that you're super passionate about.
Yeah, I definitely am. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you can totally tell. And I think that's true, when we go through a journey as coaches, and it's something that we can experience in depth on that same level that a client would be possibly experiencing too, it often leaves us, well, number one, with a ton of information regarding that particular struggle, but also with a really deep passion to help people that are in that same situation, because we really don't want them to feel the way that we felt.
Yeah, it's so true. And a lot of times when I talk to people, I'm talking almost like to a past version of myself. And that's why I know it so well.
Right. Yes, that's a super valid point. So then you work also with a lot of women that are sort of in that same situation, that same place that where you were at.
Yeah, not everybody necessarily is exactly the same, but yes, a lot of them are. Yeah.
Yeah, same with us here. So let's say, actually, ladies, if you're watching, go ahead and drop any questions or comments you have into the chat, and I'll make sure that we get those answered for you tonight. But Kirsten, tell us what would, like, if someone came to you as a client and they were like, I've been running 7 miles a day and I'm eating 900 calories and I just feel horrible, what would you have them first do?
Yes, well, this is the moment of really hard truth for them because obviously they have to start eating more. No adult woman should eat only 900 calories. And if they say that I have a fat loss goal, then, I'm going to tell them that when you choose the right exercise, it has to be strength training because cardio is great if you need it for your athletic performance, if you run marathons, if you do stuff like that. then. But if you want to look better and heal your hormones, because they probably are a little bit messed up if you're eating so little and run all the time, then we really have to do resistance training. And one thing that I think also is very important to understand is that a lot of people choose their exercise based on what their Apple Watch or Fitbit tells them they burned, right? So if they choose like, I'm going to go running because that burns more per hour compared to weightlifting. And this is exactly the way I used to think when I was in my 20s. If you think about it this way, then of course you're going to choose cardio. But what a lot of people don't realize is that cardio is actually not sustainable, and it's not going to give you the result that you want in the long term. Because like I said before, you're going to need more and more and more and more cardio, and nobody can do it endlessly. Versus with weightlifting, you can use progressive overload. You don't have to add days. You don't have to work out 7 days a week. It's not necessary. So this is where I would kind of direct them first. You have to start lifting weights, and then definitely increase your calories.
Yes, no, that's exactly what we would say. I think it's important to note that, like you said, women often won't choose the weight training because it doesn't show as high of a calorie burn, on whatever fitness device you're using. But the thing is with weightlifting, if we are building our muscle, a muscle is like actually the metabolic currency of our body. So if we can build more muscle, we'll actually be able to eat more calories without putting on the fat, because muscle requires energy coming in to maintain it, whereas fat doesn't. I mean, fat, if it has energy coming in, it will just like grow and magnify and be more fat, because it doesn't actually have that calorie requirement.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. That's why it's kind of like an investment, right?
Yes.
You may not see like the result immediately. Like you will get faster weight loss result if you start just like running. You go run the next 2 weeks, you run every day hardcore, you're going to see more weight loss than you're going to see doing, similar amount of strength training. But this is not the point. What most people want is long-term fat loss. And then, yeah, like you said, muscle requires energy. That's why you can actually eat more. Nobody enjoys eating 900 calories a day. Everybody wants to eat more. That's like, breakfast and the snack maybe.
Right.
So yes, the way I see muscle is totally like an investment. It's so worth it to put some time and effort into building muscle, even if the scale doesn't drop immediately. And a lot of times actually it doesn't drop in the beginning. It may stay the same. Some people even may gain a little bit, but you have to learn to look at it differently and understand that you will start to look better and your shape will change when you lift weights. It doesn't happen with cardio.
Right. Yes. No, that's a super valid point, because with cardio, all we're doing is making ourselves be a smaller version of whatever way we already look. So if your clients come in and they're like, our clients like, hey, we want to have some really, really nice legs and we want to grow glutes, and they're running 17 miles a day, and you're just like, I'm sorry, but you're not going to build those doing that, because you can't. Because as you're using up that energy, your body is actually using the cells of your muscle, because you're probably under eating. Not to say that we can't run, because we can. It just has to be fueled appropriately.
Yeah, I totally agree. And that's exactly what I did wrong when I was in my early 20s and went on this big weight loss journey. I dramatically cut the calories down and started running a lot. And yeah, I did lose body fat, but I lost a lot of muscle. And looking back to the photos, I was like a stick figure and like no muscle, no butt, no boobs, no nothing. I was just like, very kind of like that. And physique is one thing. The other thing is health too. Like a lot of people just can't handle it. And I don't know exactly like what age group the people are here, but you can kind of get away with stuff without causing a lot of harm to your health when you do that in your 20s maybe. But as we get to like mid 40s, 50s, beyond, you're not going to get away with it so easily. And actually just overtraining yourself in that way and under eating calories, you actually end up gaining body fat eventually. That's a pretty common thing too, unfortunately.
Yes. Yeah, no, it really is. And then they completely don't understand, because they think they're doing everything correctly, when really it's just, a big sort of metabolic hole that you've dug yourself into.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah. So when we undereat like that, and we're doing so much cardio. You mentioned that you can develop hormonal imbalances. What are some of the typical ones that you see because of that situation?
Mhm. Well, periods is one of the things. Either you get an ovulatory periods, which means that the ovulation disappears, but ovulation is actually the most important part of a cycle. It's not the period itself, because you may have a period without ovulation, but this is not the actual healthy period, because you get certain benefits from ovulation, right? You get progesterone, which is very useful. We need that. So anovulatory periods, or very irregular ones, or in my case, I completely lost them. So I didn't have a period for 10 years. Yeah, I know. A lot of people would be, yeah, a lot of women would be, oh, you're so lucky. I'm like, oh, no, because this is really bad for bone health also. So these are the main hormonal imbalances. But of course, hormonal imbalances show up differently too. It doesn't have to be, period related. A lot of people start losing their hair, nails, skin is super dry, nails are brittle, brain fog, adrenals are definitely overworked, pumping out a lot of cortisol and adrenaline. And these things definitely start over the long run also impacting your fat loss ability. So a lot of things can happen, and in some cases, recovery from it can take a lot of time, and you may have to gain some weight, just like happened in my case. So it's not pretty. So don't let things go so bad and overtrain yourself. It's never going to be worth it.
No, that's so valid. And you're right, it shows up in so many different ways. I think it is really important to understand that cortisol piece. Like when we live in constant stress, which everyone, thinks that exercise and whether it's lifting weights or doing cardio is a good stress, and it is. But if you're combining that with under eating for a long period of time, it becomes a not good stress. And like you said, your body can't keep up, the adrenals can't keep up. And so then we start to see, different stages of adrenal fatigue. And that can take depending on how serious it is, that can take a long time to come back. But we also won't see full hormone balance until we have those adrenals repaired.
Yeah, totally. Very true. One other thing that came to mind is cold tolerance.
Oh,
If you're
yes.
somebody who gets always cold, that was like, I was always cold, no matter what the weather was like, no matter how many clothes I had on, I was still always cold. And that actually tells you that something's up with your thyroid. Also, hair loss is a sign of thyroid not functioning properly. And thyroid, of course, is our metabolic, basically like thermostat. So it's very important to have good thyroid health, and you cannot have it if you starve yourself, if you stress yourself with excess cardio.
Right. Yeah, and over time, that high cortisol response that we're having, when we see the adrenal fatigue and we see the hormone issues, is also going to negatively impact gut. And then you have people that also have, gut imbalances. They develop sudden food sensitivities or intolerances that is directly related to how their gut is functioning, because it can't function right because we're not giving it enough food and we're giving it too much stress.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and then a lot of people believe that they have to start like kicking out all kinds of foods from their diet because they cause all these troubles. But actually, what the trouble is probably originally caused by is this too much stress in the form of undereating and overtraining.
Yes, no, it's absolutely 100% true. I need to check the chat and see if we have any questions in there.
Okay.
Let's see. All right, so ladies, if you have questions, nope, not seeing anything. We have some people watching us, so that's good. Ladies, if you have questions, please drop them into the chat and I'll make sure that we get those answered for you tonight. But so Kersten, what is your favorite method of resistance training?
Um, I I'm a pretty traditional in the sense that I enjoy working with dumbbells, barbells the most. Um, and everybody can do it. There are many ways of doing it. Maybe beginners can start with just body weight, but even like on a higher level, like some people do very high level calisthenics, and you cannot argue that this is not, it's very much resistance training, doing pistol squats and pull-ups. This is awesome. But for me personally, yes, it is the barbells. some dumbbells and few machines here and there that I like to add into my workout routine. But yes, these are, and the main reason is really, of course, I enjoy it the most, but also it's the easiest to use progressive overload, which is over time adding more weight and challenging yourself this way, because we're talking about muscle growth here a lot and strength gains. Your muscles can grow if there's progressive overload. So every now and then you got to add some weights to your bar and push yourself.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I thought of a question. So there is a type of resistance training, but it's also combined with a high cardio output called CrossFit. Do you have any clients that do that?
Do I have right now? No, I don't think I have anybody who does CrossFit.
Yeah.
I've had in the past, and I've done it myself too. So yes, I know what you're talking about.
Yes. Yes. So that can be just as much, if not more, of a tax on your system when you're under eating.
Yeah.
Just because you are combining both the cardio aspect plus the resistance training,
Yeah.
and that it can be a huge stress on your body. I know that's something I've had conversations with other coaches, is that inside of CrossFit, the paleo diet is super popular, and it's honestly one of the worst ones you could ever do for performance and to preserve your hormone health when you are performing CrossFit.
Because it's so low in carbohydrates. Like, how do you recover from this stuff?
Yeah.
But I've done the combination. I've done it, years ago. I think 2014. The good thing about it, doing CrossFit, is that this is actually the thing that introduced me to strength training. So this is where I was like, oh, okay, I can lift these things, and I learned how to do pull-ups, and this is like my intro. I didn't stay there for a long time, but this is kind of what opened the door. But I agree, like I did the paleo at the same time, and it was very low in carbs, and a lot of people don't know it, that you need carbs for recovery, you need carbs for performance, to have the energy to go into your workout and get the work done. A lot of people who cut their carbs super low are amazed when they put them back in and start feeling like they're alive again. So I definitely don't want to recommend anybody to completely cut out their carbs, especially if they're lifting or any training, to be honest, whether they do cardio, strength, a little bit of both. I don't think a carb should be cut out.
Right. No, I agree with you 100%. And they have a positive impact on both hormone production and cortisol production.
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah. So like long fasts, which is also like that a lot of people do, long fasting combined with low carbohydrates. This is one of the worst things you can do. And if you want to make it worse, add in like a very intense workout, and you get a perfect mix of like adrenal mess. And if the goal is to build muscle, which it should be if you want fat loss, then your muscle needs recovery, your muscle needs fuel, and it doesn't want to be starved. How do you build it if you don't give it any fuel? It doesn't make any sense. But I think a lot of people just like, it's so popular right now, and I've had several clients who come from this zero carb background, and it's just really popular and seems to be like the quick shortcut to quick fat loss. But again, we have to think long term. We can't think like, I'm gonna get there in like 3-4 weeks. Just drop that mindset, because you have to be thinking more in terms like where I'm gonna be in 3 years if I continue doing this.
Right. Right. Absolutely. Well, and I think that kind of goes back to something you said earlier, that maybe when you start lifting weights, you don't see a change on the scale, but that doesn't mean that nothing is happening. Because like you mentioned, often our body shape changes. And if we like what is in the mirror, who cares what the scale says?
Exactly. Oh, you're so right. I mean, I would just wish we could get the scale number out of our heads for good, because it really does not matter as much. And it's super hard for women to wrap their heads around this fact, right?
Right.
That, they sometimes people tell me, but what's going on? Like, I did a really hard workout yesterday, and today my scale is up. Like, why is it? And here we can see it's the same pattern of thinking, the old one, like, I did a workout, I must weigh less, right? Because this is how it works with cardio. You sweat out a bunch of water, right? And of course you will be lighter on the scale, but with muscle, it doesn't work this way. And by the way, if your scale weight is up after a heavy workout, it's just inflammation, it's okay. It's gonna come down, it'll be fine. But the scale, I want to say also that for the longest time, I had in my mind that I cannot weigh more than 135 pounds. I just had this in my mind, and I maintained that weight, but it was very forceful. I had to like work my butt off every day and run a ton to maintain that. And then in my world, like anything that's like over 155 pounds would be just like plain fat and unacceptable and never possible, right? And then after I healed from all my hormonal issues and lost the body fat in a healthy way, actually, this is where I am now. I'm like 155, 160, somewhere between there. And I never thought that I could look the way I do, which I like. I'm like, I look okay, right? And I always thought that this must look absolutely terrible and horrible because I had this thought in my mind that it's all about the scale. But everybody knows probably that muscle weighs something too. It's not like thin air. And if you want to see muscle gains, you have to be willing to accept the fact that the scale number may not go down to the point where you thought it should go.
Right. Yeah, no, that's so true. And thank you for sharing that. It looks like that super resonates in the group. They said thank you for sharing. They'll continue on their path. But I think that's so important that we just continue to reiterate that is that number isn't important. And if you like what's in here, it doesn't matter.
Exactly. Yeah. And also you can just like miss completely the progress that you've made if you only focus on the scale.
Oh, absolutely.
Somebody might say that, hey, my energy is up and my clothes are fitting better and I see like a little definition in my shoulders, but the scale is not down, so the stuff is not working. Like, how is it not working then?
Yes, all these things are different, but it's not working.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think it's important that women understand too that it doesn't, like you mentioned, when you go and do cardio workout and you sweat a lot, you're removing a lot of water from your body. You're depleting stores inside of the muscle, and so the scale goes down. Whereas if we're doing resistance training, we are increasing the store to the muscle, and it may cause some inflammation, so it may be going up. But in either of those scenarios, we are never ever gaining or losing an actual pound of fat overnight. That's just not possible.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, totally. It's like biologically, it's like how it can't happen. It's just water that can fluctuate so much. Or I don't know, you were super constipated and then you finally used the bathroom. You didn't lose a pound of fat. You lost something else. It's the fat is not moving so quickly.
Yes, yes. And it's not just a pound. I mean, as far as women go, we see more fluctuations on the scale than men are going to. And that's
Sure.
completely okay. There's many, many different reasons for scale fluctuations, but I think it does to keep in mind that you really, unless you are eating astronomical amounts of food, you are not going to gain or lose pounds of fat overnight, or even like period. It's just normal fluctuations that we have.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. I want to see if we have some more questions real quick.
Okay.
We are not. Yeah. Sherry just said it was encouraging to hear you both. Thank you. I will continue on my path. And
Awesome.
yes, it is super awesome. Ladies, I'll give you a few more moments. If you have questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat. We'll get to those tonight before I stop monopolizing Kirsten's time and let her go home. But thank you for joining us so much. I think this has been a wonderful conversation, super full of value. So I am super happy with our little chat.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Absolutely. Did you have anything else that you wanted to share with the group tonight?
Yeah, actually, there is one thing. So it's also really awesome to see how easy it is to maintain your body composition if you have put in the work and lifted weights for years. Because it was never that easy before. With cardio, it was always dependent on, did I get my workout done or did I not? And then if there was like a little bit of time when you didn't for some reason, it would show up quickly, right? Your weight would go up, or you would feel your body differently, or something doesn't fit. But if you do resistance training, and that doesn't happen immediately, but if you have done it at least few years consistently, then like a one quote unquote bad weekend where you overindulged, or like the holiday season or whatever the thing is, it doesn't throw you off. It doesn't put like body fat on you quickly. It doesn't even change your weight all that much. And that's because you have muscle on your body, and that, like you mentioned too before, it just absorbs the nutrition that you give it. It absorbs the calories and the carbs. And it just, sometimes I'm thinking like how ridiculously simple it has gotten to maintain. And sometimes people ask like how many calories you eat in a day, and they're very surprised when I say that. They're almost like, you're lying. Like, I'm not lying. I would not lie about it, because it's really like when you have built up that foundation, you can eat a lot of food, and who wouldn't want that?
Right. No, that is such a good point. And we see that, with our clients that are serious about the resistance training, is we go through the holidays and they enjoy the holidays. They, that we're of course not staying on some strict plan through the holidays. They are enjoying it. They're doing things with their family. They're having food. Maybe they're going out for some drinks. And after Christmas, there is no weight to lose
Yep.
because they have been serious in their commitment to the training throughout the rest of the year.
Yeah, I agree. It's so much simpler. I think it's like, it's almost unbelievable. It's almost like too good to be true, but you have to put in the work to
Mhm.
sort of like, get to the point where this is available. It doesn't happen in a month or two.
No.
So stay the course, and keep lifting weights no matter what.
Right. Yes, absolutely. It's a long-term thing. It's not, like you said, it is not a quick fix.
No.
And I think that's something that's important to keep in mind too.
Yeah.
And if the quick things worked, you wouldn't be sitting here listening to our conversation.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. It's like there is a reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I want to thank you again so much for your time tonight. I really, really enjoyed our conversation. Thank you so much for bringing so much value to our community. I really appreciate that.
Oh, it was great being here tonight. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Thank you so much. I'll send you over a copy of the recording.
Sounds good. All right. Take care.
All right. You too. Thank you.
Bye.